7 o'clock, and it's time for the Morning Watch brought to you this morning by Chris and Charles Investment. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles Investment.
Dear, from the Christmas season start, me notice you wearing Chris clothes, house painted looking Chris, plus you're driving a Chris car.
Kerry, you know what says Chris and Charles may get a loan from. Now I'm looking Chris for the Christmas.
Borrow $1 million and get 30% off your processing fees in less than $25,000 monthly. No guarantor needed. Be Chris for the Christmas with Chris and Charles. Call 876-920-4189 or WhatsApp 876-838-9028. Conditions apply. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM, the number one gospel station in Jamaica. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also check us out on Love 101 FM Facebook Live and YouTube Live in the first watch. Leaving your comfort zone. Second watch. New money, pretty money, Christmas money. What we need, want to know. In our social media question, we ask, what will you buy or do with your first new Jamaica $2,000 bank note? Share your responses in our Facebook or YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes too. 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your comments later on the program, but first, here's I quote.
I quote this morning is an integrity quote. In a room where people unanimously maintain a conspiracy of silence, one word of truth sounds like a pistol shot. That one there from Sislaw Milos.
Chisla Millers.
Thank you for that.
Interesting. I wonder why the pistol had to be brought into this one.
Because it is loud and it's effective.
You know, I will leave it right there. I will take it no further. The main watch will be back after this break.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on J&B Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. J&B Bank will help you find a way.
Let's give ourselves the best gift yet. Great mobile and internet. Value the whole year long. Gotta know the best to get. Flow has savings just for you. Give great Christmas gifts, it's true. Samsung tablet for my boo. Samsung Fold 2. Our moments together with Flow Yard and Road, it's better. This Christmas, Flow gives the best to you.
With Yard and Road, get a Samsung tablet or a phone for just $999 plus GCT.
Flow gives the best to you.
Conditions apply.
A new voice is coming to morning radio. Monday, December 5.
Good morning. Good morning. You think your job was at all? Yeah. Come in. Just smile and say good morning. Say good morning.
how will you be spending the holidays?
I'm going to spend time with my family in the country.
I'll be spending the holidays abroad.
Meaning fun and more fun.
I'll be spending on gifts for everyone. No matter how you plan to spend the holidays, make sure you're spending with your Sagicor Bank credit card. You'll earn rewards for every dollar you spend. Spend the holidays doing what you like with the people you love and the card that rewards you as you spend. Sagicor Bank credit cards. Conditions apply.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. There is a space or state that is called the comfort zone. And the question is, do you ever venture outside of it? Do you ever venture outside of the comfort zone? What situations make you uncomfortable and why? How do you deal with it? Or are you one of those who look forward to going outside of your comfort zone? Why? What is the value, if any, the benefits or the advantages and the disadvantages of being adventurous and stepping out of that box, stepping outside of the box, stepping outside of your comfort zone into uncharted waters? For example, traveling, new foods, engaging in matters which are, there might be some element of risk. What is this thing that we call the comfort zone, and how should we handle it? How should we treat with it? We have as our guests for this segment, Dr. Leakim Semaj, founder, chief ideator, Above or Beyond, and of course, transformation psychologist. We also have with us today Patricia Reed Wall. She's an author, retirement coach, and speaker. Good day, Dr. Leakim Semaj, and good day, Patricia Reed Wall. How are you both?
Good morning. I am very well, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here.
I'm very good. It's wonderful having you both. Great, excellent. Starting with you, Dr. Semaj. Help the listeners to understand what exactly we mean by the comfort zone.
As the word implies, things that make you feel comfortable, offer no stress, no pressure, nothing.
But what is wrong with that, Professor Dr. Semaj? I was about to call you Professor. What is wrong with that, Dr. Semaj?
A lot of things are wrong with that. Growth exists just beyond your comfort zone. Let me give you two quick examples. In 1979, I was teaching a course in African psychology at Cornell University. And as you know, that science grew out of philosophy. So I spent the first 2 weeks introducing the class to African philosophy and religion practices. At the end of the 2 weeks, there was one young man who dropped the class. I didn't see him again. And eventually I ran to him on campus and he said, Dr. Semaj, if anything you said in those 2 weeks is true, it means that everything that I have learned so far in my life is questionable. I am 6 months away from completing my PhD and I don't want to take that chance. I don't want to hear nothing more. That is not an uncommon situation where persons just refuse to grow. Alvin Toffler says that the illiterate of the 21st century would be those who can't learn, unlearn, and relearn. Because the level at which knowledge is changing. Thomas Kuhn, The History of Scientific Revolution, was a book I first was exposed to in graduate school. And what he says that growth does not occur until somebody does something different. Simple as
Interesting.
that. Simple as that.
I see. Now, you're speaking, well, based on the things you have said so far, you talk a lot about the individual going outside of their comfort zone, but what about institutions or organizations? Does that apply to them as well?
Yes, and here's where the interesting dynamics takes place. You need to be always trying to preserve the best of what you have, but you also want to find how do you grow at the same time. So, for example, organizations have mission, vision, and value statements and so on, so that this is what we stand for. But you're constantly looking now, how do we shape it? How do we grow? How do we improve it? So that dynamics between preserving and growing. If all you do is preserve, nothing happens. A baby is the perfect example. Babies are comfortable. Somebody carrying them around and all of that, and they start to crawl. But the natural predisposition is to walk, is to get up. They start walking and they fall down. I've seen babies trying to, no, leave me alone. I want to walk. I want to walk. I want to walk. So that it's the natural thing for us to move out of the comfort zone so that growth takes place. If not, you stagnate. Another example, look, a plant. A plant has a potential for a certain capacity and size. Leave it in a pot so it can't grow. The plant dies or it mash up the pot, or you have to transplant it so that it's allowed to grow into its full potential.
That is a very interesting example, the example of the plant in the pot. Patricia Reed Wall, new comfort zones for persons who, for example, retire from a job or change jobs, and new persons even coming into the roles filled by the person who would have retired or changed jobs. Any thoughts on that, Patricia Reed Wall?
Well, one of the things that I normally say is that an organization needs to refresh itself. And when I speak to people, for instance, at retirement seminars, preparing them for retirement seminars, I point out to them that it is good for them to leave the organization so that the organization can refresh itself with new ideas, new personnel coming in with new ideas and you know sort of thing. So you really, as Dr. Smart said, you really need to have growth, and you don't have growth by just this stagnant position. So
Very interesting.
yeah.
And well, you are in a very interesting place in terms of mentioning this, because you have written two books that deal with or address retirement from two different angles, each book looking at retirement from different vantage points. But another thing I want to mention before we head to the break, this matter of role reversal as persons get older and younger persons start giving the older person instructions. Any perspectives on that, Patricia Reedwall?
Well, one of the things I can tell you is that when you get older, there is a role reversal that takes you out of your comfort zone, because remember, we have been accustomed to doing things for ourselves, handling our lives and all of that. And now some people have their children telling them what to do, ordering their lives, and this becomes a bit different. I hear a lot of my adult friends complaining about this. that,
Patricia Reed, hold that thought. Very interesting, but we are already upon a break. Listeners, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Get better coverage for yourself and your family as low as $800 a month. The time by JN Life Vest from JN Life Insurance is
7:15 and a half.
You know, it really tests my patience when I'm trying to do business and have to submit the same personal information over and over again. Now, my one JN passport experience allows me to breeze through when I do business with the Jamaica National Group. I just have to submit my current personal information one time and bam, I'm recognized at any JN company through my one JN passport experience. Now that is convenience. Go to jngroup.com/one JN passport today and sign up. JN, we'll help you find a way.
Jamaica Hospital Supplies has medical equipment for health at home.
We have oxygen supplies,
wheelchairs,
digital blood pressure machines,
adult diapers,
Sure Comfort diabetic supplies,
CareSense blood sugar meters,
humidifiers, incentive spirometers,
urinals, bedpans, leg bags,
CPAP supplies, body fat scales and catheters. Jamaica Hospital Supplies for all your home care needs. 66 and a half Halfway Tree Road. Call 929-2850. Visit our website for more information.
Auntie Donna.
Hi guys, Auntie Donna here, and I'm here to tell you about Phoenix Vision Center. And as you guys know, Auntie Donna is the brand ambassador for Phoenix Vision. At Phoenix Vision, we have the best eye care service and the best prices on designer frames. We have 3 locations here in Jamaica: Champions Plaza in Falmouth, St. Anne's Bay, and of course, 10th Street in Port Maria. Call us or WhatsApp us at 876-589-8327. See you there. Auntie Donna said that.
Make people proud of you.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the first watch, and our guests are Leah Kim Semaj and Patricia Reed Waugh. The topic is leaving your comfort zone. And Patricia Reed Waugh, just before the break, you were giving a very interesting example of older persons leaving their comfort zone. Some of your adult friends complaining in relation to younger, is it family members giving them instructions? Continue, Patricia Reed Waugh.
Yes, family members, giving them instructions there, especially during the pandemic period when children did not want their parents to be doing certain things, and the children wanted to take over, and it became a very difficult situation. I'll give you another example. The whole fact that we are now dealing with most of the things we do. Younger people who could be our grandchildren are the ones that we have to interact with. Here's an example. I had a medical situation, and I had to go to a consultant. The consultant was Dr. Bill Aiken, whom I taught in high school. I taught him.
Interesting.
He was my 3rd and 4th form student in high school. And I had to go to Bill. And when Bill told me to go behind that curtain and take off my clothes, I was horrified. I almost gave the boy an order mark on the spot.
Interesting.
It was not a pleasant experience at all. And I ended up having surgery. And, I'm on the operating table. And Bill is seeing everything, including all of my internal organs.
Yes. And he was once your student.
He was
under your thumb, so to speak.
Precisely. So, it really, you have to be prepared. You have to be prepared, and with a mindset to understand that things change. And you have to change along with it.
Yes. And that brings us, that word change brings us to other things, such as even maybe changing countries if there's a new opportunity. Not that you're abandoning your original country, but maybe opportunities arise, or changing careers, or moving from a so-called safe job to a new career. Any thoughts on any of these? Patricia Reedwall firstly, and then Dr. Semaj. Patricia Reedwall.
One of the things in my life, I went to the University of Wisconsin and did graduate studies there. I lived in St. Martin for 4 years, and I lived in Nevis for 7 years. So in terms of getting adjusted to different cultures, I remember when I was living in the US, I remember my first Good Friday. I got up and and turned on the radio. And you know what Good Friday is here in Jamaica, where everybody goes to church and it's very
Yes.
solemn and so on. And I heard the song Bustin' Loose, that pop song. And,
Yes.
and I busted out in crying. My reaction was, nobody here cares that Jesus died. Because coming from the strong Jamaican culture where Good Friday is so solid, and hearing just normal songs being played on the radio, it was very difficult. So you do have to also be prepared.
That is more than a culture shock.
And you have to adapt to different cultures. I went to Nevis. When I went to live in Nevis, Nevis has 12,000 something people, less than 13,000 people. That's about 1/3 of the people that hold in our national stadium.
It's a very serious point, you know.
Yes. And you know, I hear people saying, you know, oh, they would never leave Jamaica, or they would never do this, or they would never do that. You cannot box yourself in, because you don't know what wonderful opportunities are out there waiting for you, and they all make your life so much richer.
Yes. You come away with a different perspective. It doesn't mean that you will not retire in your country of origin, but you may or may not. But nevertheless, you are the richer for it. Dr. Semaj, moving from a so-called safe job into a new career that might have more risk. Any thoughts on that, sir?
Very useful and very necessary. That's one of the things that I assist people with from time to time. A lot of people go into a job initially, sometimes for the wrong reasons or without all the information.
Yes.
But then they realize what they really need to do. But changing careers is a really painful thing for some people. Some people rather just stay and go and suffer it out because the chance of having to start all over again. But
you don't want to leave the pension.
Exactly. But there are many times, I mean, even
and these are real considerations, not undermining them.
No, but where you were a while ago about even changing countries, do you understand that immigrants are probably the most successful and creative people? In the United States, something like 75% of the major corporations, the CEOs are immigrants or children of immigrants.
Yes.
Because you go there with a dream, with a vibe to get things done. And by the way, maybe we should do a morning watch on this thing about nationality and patriotism. I have rethought that completely. Where you were born is purely an accident. So this notion that you
an accident, Dr. Semaj?
Where you were born, you had absolutely no control over that. For you to give it dominance and permanence, but I am at this. And look what companies have done by becoming transnational, how they can grow. We too as individuals can get the same benefits by being transnational. In that,
very interesting, sir.
When you know that there's a new word now called nomads, KNOWMAD, meaning that people, knowledge workers who can live anywhere and work anywhere.
Yes.
They are the ones who will dominate the world of work. Anybody who's trapped in Jamaica. And by the way, almost everyone who a family member has migrated, gone abroad to work, the family is better off.
That is another interesting point, Dr. Semaj, because you have exceptions. We will not say that there aren't exceptions, but by and large,
everything in life there are exceptions.
Yes, but by and large, people do say that they have someone overseas they can they can lean on if there's a
Yes.
challenge, and money is sent back to Jamaica. Yes.
Yes. And I did an interview some time ago with John Issa, and he said something that stuck in my head. He says that every one of us in Jamaica, ethnically, racially, culturally, came from somewhere else.
Yes.
The question is,
Yes.
where is it ordained that Jamaica should be our last stop?
Yes.
Where is it? There's no
Very
such
interesting.
ordination. So listen, people have to keep growing and going. Once you trap yourself, well, me nah leave country, me love down a country. Me nah leave my ghetto, you know. Me nah leave where me born and grow. And a lot of people are trapped at many, many levels. Many young people growing up in middle class households now are in trouble because they can't replicate the lifestyle that they have been brought up in. And they're still at home at 30 and 40. Huh?
And they could have probably changed careers or changed countries. You're saying Dr. Semaj, yes?
All of these things are part of the growth and development.
Yes,
and
yes.
The idea, you must make sure. I saw a wonderful reference to the head of Virgin Atlantic, Branson, that when he was 4, his mother, they lived in the country, his mother dropped him off at the car about 4 miles away from where they lived and said, find your way home. She wanted to teach him independence and him to learn, to grow, and so on. I mean, even when I lived in the areas far away from supermarkets, I learned something very that I would stop in the average child at 5, live in a low income community, can go shop and buy things and come back. But those of us who live far from supermarkets, what I used to do and tell parents, you stop in the parking lot, give the child the list and the money, go inside, go buy the things and bring it, come back. Give them a chance to move out of that comfort zone.
Out of the comfort zone, correct. That's correct, sir. Very interesting. And thank you for that. Patricia Reed-Wall, before we wrap today, I have heard you use a term which I find, terms which I find quite interesting. You talk about having to have a beginner's mindset as well as a progressive mindset at the same time. Unwrap that for us, please.
Yes. Well, certainly I can tell you that I have learned so much since I have retired by just adopting a beginner's mindset. I have done even recently. I did a series of art classes. Now, when the young lady came to the class, I virtually asked her, shouldn't you be in a St. Andrew High School uniform? Because she looked so young. She had just graduated from Edna Manley College. And her age, actually, she could be my great-grandchild based on her age.
Amazing.
Yes. And yet I was able to she did these classes with me, and I learned, and I did some artwork out of it, and it was an amazing experience. Amazing that I love so much. And I think that maybe in another year's time, you will probably be interviewing me about my art exhibition.
Really? We look forward to that.
But it's important.
And so you're talking about even taking on a new hobby at the same time.
Retirement means you retire. In other words, you put on new tires on your life and you hit the road again. That's what
lovely way to look at it. Very nice way to look at it. I think we are, it would be wonderful to continue to talk about this, but alas, our time has expired and we have to move from this particular zone into the next one. In the next the remaining moments of the morning watch, I want to thank Patricia Reed-Wall and Dr. Semaj for a very different sort of conversation and a very interesting conversation with you both this morning about leaving that comfort zone. Thank you for your time and for your thoughts.
You're welcome.
Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Talk to Jane Bank today to find out about achieving your own sweet home in 30 days. The time by Jane Bank Mortgage is
7:30 and a half. The Morning Watch is brought to you today by Chris and Charles Investment. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles Investment.
We're gonna spread the Christmas cheese.
The Christmas holiday is a wonderful season, and Sagicor Bank has the key to even more happiness with an incredible mortgage offer that will make you sing.
Christmas is a time for celebration.
This Christmas, experience the joy of a mortgage that gives you a competitive interest rate, special rates on home insurance, and up to $2 million line of credit. Get your key to a wonderful Christmas with a mortgage from Sagicor Bank. Conditions apply.
Get registered for City and Guilds Math and English this year. Our qualifications are for everyone. Register now for exams in June 2023 and gain worldwide employment opportunities. We're endorsed in Jamaica by the Ministry of Education and Youth, JDF, JCF, UCJ, and the Heart Trust NSTA. Or Stage 3 Math and English are accepted in over 21 local universities and colleges. Call the City and Guilds Caribbean Rep office at 924-7808 or 7804. Email us at jamaica@cityandguilds.com to register now. Registration closes January 2023. City and Guilds, believe you can.
Christmas here, are you ready? Burgess colors I'm choosing. Paint a home you'll adore, get prizes galore. Shopping in a Burgess Wonderland.
Win an 8-day Caribbean cruise, gift vouchers, save 15% and more when you purchase 2 gallons or more of Burgess paints at any color shop or participating hardware. For entry details, visit BurgessPaintsCaribbean.com today. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Burgess, the lasting beauty and protection.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we turn firstly to a very concerning story in Loop, Jamaica news. Young firefighter dies after being mowed down while on duty. And Mackenzie mourns the tragedy, including the circumstances behind it. And the reference to Mackenzie is Desmond Mackenzie, the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. And we turn now to the Jamaica Observer. And these are the online versions, by the way, listeners, of the various news sources. And something which is in the Observer here online, Todd's, TODSS, says it's not part of planned taxi protest. This story by Alfia Sumner, senior staff reporter of the Observer. And the date of the article or the piece is December 1st, 2022. It reads, Head of Transport Operators Development Sustainable Services, TODS, Edgerton Newman, is adamant that his group will not be a part of any demonstration or withdrawal of service that has been planned for today being December the 1st. And many listeners may not be aware, but the police are said to, they are supposed to start issuing warrants for persons in this relevant sector as of today, December the 1st. And of course, those would be warrants where warrants are to be issued. We now move to the Gleaner. And in the Gleaner, we have major garbage cleanup to begin in St. Anne, St. Mary, and Portland on Thursday, that being today, those and many other stories in our various news sources. And coming up next, we'll read for you some of the feedback from our Facebook and WhatsApp question, which is, what will you buy or do with your first new Jamaican $2,000 banknote? If you haven't done so yet, leave your comment on our Facebook or YouTube, Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes too. 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Let's give ourselves the best gift yet. Great mobile and internet. Value the whole year long. Gotta know the best to get. Flow has savings just for you. Give great Christmas gifts, it's true. Samsung tablet for my boo. Samsung Fold 2. Our moments together with Flow Yard and Road, it's better. This Christmas, Flow gives the best to you.
With Yard and Road, get a Samsung tablet or a phone for just $999 plus GCT.
Flow gives the best to you.
Conditions apply.
They're full of life. You're full of love. They're carefree. You care more. That's why we created Child Protector, a critical illness insurance plan from Sagicor Life. It provides coverage for your child in the event of 15 critical illnesses, hospitalization benefits, life insurance, and investment benefits. So make sure your child can live life to the fullest. Apply for Sagicor Child Protector today.
It's excitingly, deliciously, and tangiliciously good for you. For a better future, we need kids who will take action, kids who will help others, kids who will always be ready to do good for the world. Tang believes in preparing kids for the future. With over 11 exciting flavors, Tang with vitamin C gives you value as each pack yields 2 delicious liters. Prepare a great future with Tang.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We have our social media question. What will you buy or do with your first new Jamaican $2,000 banknote? DJ, our friends on Facebook and WhatsApp, what are their responses, if any, to the
All
question?
right. So a couple of persons said that they would save it. Marcia said she would show everyone if it was the first, if she was the first to get it, and then she would keep it in her purse. Neela says, well, Neela's comment is relation to the first watch. I always listen to the morning watch, but I believe this topic is the first watch will be my most memorable. Faith from Washington Gardens says,
Amazing.
yes, she would save hers. All right, there's a voice note here from Lynette.
Good morning, watch panel. What I would do with my first 2,000 banknote, my first one would go to my tithes envelope. That was what I would do with my first one. I would give it to the Lord, give it to the house, give it to the church. As I read the scripture, saying, can a man rob God? So I wanted to do my first one as my tithes in my church. Missionary Lynette Nelson of the Cathedral Church of the Living God in
Good morning, Morning Watch. I don't know what I would spend with my first $2,000 bill as yet, but whatever most important to me at the time when I got it, what I need to do with it, the most important thing I will definitely do with it, but I have a feeling that it will have to do with spending on food-wise, something to eat. Yes.
Those are the comments this morning from WhatsApp. We didn't have any comments on Facebook or YouTube.
Well, thanks, DJ. Very interesting comments, and also a very interesting comment as well, and a very moving comment in relation to the first watch. We move right into the second watch. And of course, in, well, recently, earlier this year, March exactly, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark announced that the Bank of Jamaica is to introduce a new $2,000 banknote bearing the pictures of the late former prime ministers and political rivals Michael Manley and Edward Siaga. He also announced several changes to existing bank notes. Now, some people said the new bank notes are looking too pretty or will look too pretty. Well, it's now some months later, and it seems as if we are all ready, set to go. And these notes appear, well, it appears as if these notes will be ready in time for Christmas. Now, some people would say, is this something we really need? Others will say, yes, why not now? And certainly the imagery that would be on this particular bank note is, is quite interesting. We have online today to have a discussion around this, a conversation around this. Michael Diamond, President of Consumers Intervention Jamaica. We were hoping to have someone else online as well, a financial analyst, but regrettably we don't have her here today. But we do have Mr. Diamond. Michael Diamond, how are you, sir? Mr. Michael Diamond. I hope we have Mr. Diamond on. It appears as if there's a challenge. Hearing Mr. Diamond, let's try again. Michael Diamond.
How you doing? You hearing me?
Yes, sir. You are very much with us. We can hear you loud and clear, but I think you're muted now. Maybe you want to unmute, and so we can commence a conversation around this, because jumping right into it, Michael Diamond, first of all, this new currency, although, well, it was indicated we should be having it anytime now, but we're also hearing soundings it may not be until next year. What is it that you know factually or can predict as to when this currency, this new note, will be in full circulation?
Okay. Based on the information most current is that the new notes won't actually be in circulation until mid 2023. So we're looking about summer. So this is not something that will be causing any discomfort and taking people out of their comfort zones for this particular holiday season. Right? And
Maybe we need to come out of our comfort zones here, Mr. Diamond. Why are you saying that? Anyway, continue, sir.
yes, because basically what will happen, we do have to realize that anything surrounding finance usually creates some type of anxiety in people. So the introduction of these new currencies will also have a psychological effect on our people. So for consumers in general, there's going to be that, first impression type of reaction to these things. So yes, individuals will be battling to get out of their comfort zone when these currencies comes into circulation. So yes, this is not going to occur until next year, thankfully, so that we can actually have a process of education, information, and sensitization to really get more comfortable, I would say, with the new currencies.
I see. So you're not expecting, your information is that it may not be in circulation until next year, about mid next year, maybe about the summertime. So you don't expect to see any wide circulation of this new $2,000 banknote in time for Christmas?
Absolutely not.
You don't think
Absolutely.
so? Okay.
Absolutely not. There wasn't enough information for the public to be prepared for that. So the time for next year is most appropriate.
I see. Now, merchants and others would be required to make any sorts of adjustments in relation to these new $2,000 bank notes. We know we have various kiosks that persons use to do business with bank notes. Any thoughts or comments on that, Michael Diamond?
Absolutely. Keeping in mind that any introduction of new currency requires an update of machinery, especially the software, to recognize the new features of these currencies. So what would end up happening, which happens even in other jurisdictions, is that oftentimes new currencies are rejected by vending
Ah,
machines.
Michael
So
Diamond, Michael Diamond, can you pause one moment because we are upon the 7:45 a.m. break. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back.
A new voice is coming to morning radio. Monday, December 5.
Good morning. Good morning. You think the job was hot on? Yeah. Come in and good morning. Just smile and say good morning. Say good morning.
Is marriage a necessity or a choice? Should every young person desire marriage? Isn't being single a privilege? Sure it is, but what is the benefit of someone marrying young? A blessing or a curse? Tune in this Thursday, December 1 at 5:30 inside To Have and To Hold as host Colleen Beckles and co-host Dr. Dylan Desant take a look at marrying young, a blessing or a curse. That's the truly marvelous program this and every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch. The topic is new money, pretty money, Christmas money, what we need, want to know. Our guest is Michael Diamond, President, Consumers Intervention, Jamaica. Before the break, Mr. Diamond, you were making some comments. Please continue because there is going to be a concern in relation to merchants and others needing to probably update their systems, etc., to be able to accommodate to so that these new notes can be used. Mr. Diamond, please continue.
yes, absolutely. This is just the natural progression of things because you're introducing something new. So the machines and devices, the software would need to be updated in order to accommodate these new currencies. So this also gives the merchants opportunity to retrofit their machines and devices to actually do these. So the fact that these currencies are expected in the country the first week, I think it was mentioned the first week of December, would not be enough time, even though.
Mr. Diamond, are you with us, sir? I think you're saying, Mr. Diamond, that introducing these currencies by the first week of December would not be enough time for merchants and other relevant parties to update their systems?
Right. Because
Okay.
again, this is
But how
something
much?
that
But why would it take that long for an adjustment to be needed? Why would such a long adjustment period be needed? Because I mean, what would be the big issue?
Well, a part of the situation would be that, was the information transmitted to these merchants in time for them to know exactly what software needed to be updated? So it's not a matter of simply that the time required, but also the information, education, and sensitization for it to be used.
It's
Because
just a new
remember,
banknote, though. I mean, I'm not minimizing what you're saying, Mr. Diamond. I'm just saying it's just a new banknote.
yeah,
You know,
actually, no. These are going to be significantly different than anything that we've been used to before. Not just simply in its design and its colors, but also the security features that goes into these new currencies. So
so
this
okay.
is really very innovative.
So you mean training this relevant staff so that they can know what the new features are of these banknotes when they put it up to the UV light, for example?
Absolutely, not just
Okay.
simply that, but remember what happens is that whenever new currencies are introduced, it also increases counterfeiting because individuals are not fully embracing, that these security features are there. So
I
they
see.
would just simply pass them over because, of course, they look colorful and this got to be the new currency. but ultimately that's security issues there as well. So the time for the sensitization and to get individuals ready and to get the equipments ready is something that they don't take lightly.
Much clearer on that, Mr. Diamond. And a concern that we often hear in relation to currency is what features are there to assist the, for example, the visually impaired to be able to identify these notes, because they would have to now be familiarized as well with them.
Absolutely.
Any comments on that?
Absolutely. At this time, I'm not aware of the adjustments, if any, have been added to these new currencies to assist the disabled community. So that is also something that requires the information, education, and sensitization of our consumers, so that if in the event that these things are not there, then what adjustments can be made? Because that is something that is often overlooked, is that these new currencies are great for those who have the ability you know, to identify them visually, but what happens to our disabled community? So even though we welcome the change, we also have to make sure that no one is left out of the process.
Very interesting, very interesting, very interesting. Now, do you have any other concerns or, issues that you'd like to raise in relation to, the introduction of this particular new bank note? For example, maybe the cost of printing the new currency.
Yes, there is a. Firstly, let's establish that Jamaica is not the only country that is introducing a new currency this year or even early next year. This is something that many countries are doing, and similarly, they happen to have very drastic changes as well in Canada and also in Nigeria. Also, have done that. So the situation here is it something that was collectively agreed upon by certain nations that Jamaica is just doing her part, or is it something that we really didn't have to do, considering that it's already estimated that the cost of printing these new currencies is going to be upwards of $7 billion per year. So
Seven
a cost
billion,
of
7 billion Jamaican dollars per year.
7 billion Jamaican dollars per year to print these currencies. So it's a matter of, does this cost really outweigh the value for printing a new currency at this particular given time? And oftentimes these decisions were made before any economic shock that we're now seeing. So how do we make that adjustment? So that's why the information to our consumers is so important, so that we can, of course, make that matching for, are we getting value for money? So this is something that a lot of individuals are concerned about. Like, why did we need a new currency in the first place? But the thing is, currencies, they do have a lifespan and they become very worn. And also the fact that it increases the opportunity for counterfeiting. So nations do tend to want to change their currencies over a period of time, sometimes 5 to 10 years. So not knowing when was the last time that Jamaica had a true currency change of this magnitude. So this is something that, again, it's going to cause a lot of anxiety, but this is something that we really need to do.
You made a very interesting point I'd like to follow up with you on, Mr. Diamond. You indicated that Jamaica is not the only country that is making a move like this in terms of introducing new bank notes. Now, for example, I'm seeing where the Nigerians, this is reported on CNN, www.cnn.com. Nigerians unimpressed with, redesigned notes, Naira bank notes. And I'm also seeing where, as far back as last December 2021, there were to be these new Euro bank notes or bank note designs. So I think what you're indicating, Mr. Diamond, is that several countries across the world, across the globe, are making this move. Any comments on that and why at this time?
You see, even our close neighbor Barbados has also have done that, introducing these new notes. The thing about it is that for the financial sector, oftentimes there need to be a uniform response in order to protect the value of your currency. Now, as you mentioned in Nigeria, the fact that individuals were not necessarily impressed with it is also a concern because it may be a situation where they're not even going to be using it. So you just made, a decision to introduce new currencies that there's no uptake on using it once the old currency is still acceptable. So there are some issues that would definitely need to be addressed where that is concerned. Because again, your currency really has a lot to do with how your consumers respond. And if there's no take up of the new currency, then that can affect consumer spending as well. So yes, it is a situation that should not be taken like cannot be taken lightly. And all the nations that are introducing it have certain physical responsibility and projections for why they have done so. So one of the things is that on the Vision 2030, strengthening the financial sector and making sure that your currency is vibrant is a part of that. So we can't overlook that as well.
In other words, well, Mr. Diamond, thank you for that comment or that response, because I think where I was really going with the question is whether it's psychologically or otherwise, why do countries really from time to time introduce new bank notes? What is the genesis of trying to do so? And especially because more than one country seems to be doing it at this time. You have even made mention of Barbados. We have seen where, for example, there was a time in Jamaica where maybe the largest denomination of a banknote was $100 or $500. We're now up to $5,000. We have $1,000, but we're introducing a banknote between the 1,000 and the 5,000, 2,000. What do you think could be contributing to that move at this time?
Okay. The underlying premise at times is security, but we also have to take into consideration that inflation does affect the denomination of currencies at times. So attempting to taper inflation is often one of the considerations for introducing larger denominations of currency. So that is something that we are also experiencing and looking into. So the idea that there's going to be a new $2,000 note can also be in line with the fact that Jamaica is also experiencing a certain level of inflation.
And so maybe the thinking is that the $1,000 bank note, for example, needs a little bit of a stimulus. So just using that word for want of a better word. So therefore, let's go to the 2,000.
Yes, that could have been a part of the consideration. Yes, and it also, as the finance minister would say, it would assist consumers to facilitate certain transactions a lot easier. With having a 2,000 note. But again, consumer response is what's going to determine whether or not this bet on a new currency was really worth it.
Well, you made a very interesting point in terms of inflation and perhaps more anon on that specific point. Before we wrap today, though, Mr. Diamond, any final comments that you'd like to make? For example, overall, do you think this is a good move? What's your opinion or your view? And, where do we go from here? Because, alas, we could be hearing down the road that another note might need to be introduced. Any thoughts, Mr. Diamond?
Absolutely. The fact is that nothing, there's no such thing as never will happen. The possibility for new note being introduced later down the line is always there. The concern that I have is that even with speaking to other individuals, regarding this, they would express that the new notes won't give the money any greater value, so that is also an issue that they have, that it doesn't increase your spending ability. So that is something that they're not impressed by. But the other concern is that we were beginning to push towards a digital currency, and we wanted to get individuals into that mind frame of utilizing digital currencies. So
Mr.
introducing
Diamond, we
new.
may not have enough time to go there today, only because of time. I do see where the clock is against us, but I want to thank you for your time and for your thoughts. Perhaps another occasion we can go down that road, sir. But thank you, Mr. Diamond, for your time and for
I
your
mean,
thoughts.
absolutely, always a pleasure.
Listeners, thank you for being with us. And of course, visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. And of course, download our Love 101 app. And of course, stay connected to us, the number 4 station in the island and the number 1 gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Have a blessed weekend and join Reverend Dr. Dallin Toussaint next week when he'll look at other topical and controversial issues. And of course, thanks to our producer Kathy Gale and to our guests. I am Stokeley Marshall, handing you back to Love in the Morning with Usual Parchment.
The Morning Watch was brought to you today by Christian Charles. When you think loans, think Christian Charles Investments.
I